If you think of a stereotypical cheat, I know I would think it's going to be someone that's quite grumpy, quite angry, quite argumentative, and doing anything they can to win. But my experience here was totally different.
I've literally lost, like when you drew the way you did, which obviously you mulligan correctly and all that sort of stuff, but like, I literally just lost.
This is the face of a man who has just stacked their deck live on stream with a camera pointing at their face, a microphone attached to their collar, and a camera pointing directly at their hand as they not so subtly stacked their deck. Let's rewind and take a closer look at what happened. This was round 3 of the Stockholm Open, a competitive Disney Lorcana tournament. We are both undefeated, and my opponent Richard opens their first 7 cards with the Queen and a whole new world. They are missing one key piece to the puzzle, and this is a 1-cost character, also called the Queen. The idea is that Richard can play the Regal Monarch Queen, shift the larger Queen onto it, and then they can exert the Queen to sing a whole new world for no cost at all. This puts them into an extremely strong position in the early game, and it's a pretty bad matchup for me. It will pretty much leave me with no chance at all. So these are the key combo pieces that Richard is looking for, and in his opening hand he has the Queen, 5 cost and a whole new world, but he is missing that 1-cost character, so he keeps 2 and mulligans the rest, so 5 new cards. But as you can see, there is no 1-cost Queen in Richard's hand. Interesting to note how he checks that before he then starts shuffling his deck, because Richard wants to take matters into his own hands. He has a look to see no one's paying attention, and he looks and fans his deck. There it is, the 1-cost Queen he's looking for. He does a fake overhand shuffle, leaving the Queen on top, and he's shuffling his deck in a way that the top of the deck's not moving. But 1 Queen is not enough for this man. He takes the second, which is totally unnecessary, by the way, in this matchup. I've got no way of stopping this. And he then places his deck down, doesn't put it onto my side of the board, offering a cut. And perhaps the facial expression here of Richard is worrying. What happens if he cuts my deck? My 2 copies of the Queen will be so far down, and they might have just cheated their way into a loss. I, Joe Curley, am an experienced card game player. This is a competitive tournament. Of course, I will take all the precautions necessary to protect myself and cut my opponents. Oh,
good luck, mate.
Dear.
Good luck to you too as well.
I am in danger.
Play Cinderella and pass.
Sure.
Let's take a quick look at the game then. It doesn't last that long. My opponent plays Cinderella on turn 1. I am playing a Sapphire and Emerald deck, which has a slow start. This is probably my worst matchup in the meta, even if my opponent doesn't stack their deck. So I'm going to be really up against it. No surprises to see what Richard draws here on turn 2. It was a Queen. Who could have seen that coming? Of course, that 1-cost Queen comes down onto the board. I play 1 jump ahead, which is a ramp card. I don't get any characters on the board, but I have now more mana, more ink, as we call it in Disney Lorcana, to play with. And here is Richard's big turn that they've been cheating towards. The Queen shift comes in. That extra Queen they unnecessarily stacked comes down, and they sing a whole new world. They discard 1 card, Strength of a Raging Fire, and I discard a whole fistful of really good cards. And this is exactly what Richard was hoping to achieve. They get off to a really, really quick start where they get lots of cards on the board. And as you can see, I'm not very happy with how this is going. My opponent has hit pretty much the best possible opener they could have. And what was already a difficult matchup for me has very, very quickly become nearly unwinnable. I also got a little bit unlucky off of the new cards I drew off a whole new world. I had to discard a copy of the Muses, which would have been my ideal play here, but I don't have access to that. So instead, I just go for a turbo ramp turn where I play 2 copies of Sail the Azure at Sea. This is going to enable me to ramp 3 times this turn. And while I'll have no characters on the board, I have a huge advantage in terms of ink or mana. So the longer this one goes on, the more in favor of me it might go. But my problem is getting the game to last much longer, because now you're going to see the real power of the whole new world. Richard's got a whole new hand, and for 4 ink, they play 2 copies of Daisy and a Mr. Smee, which now means they have 6 characters on the board. They're at 6 lore. In Decent Lorcana, the first player to get to 20 wins, and Richard is very much on their way already. I do find a copy of the Muses, so I have something to play with, as well as 2 ink for Strike a Good Match. This is a song card, which allows me to draw 2 and discard 1, but importantly, it being a song card enables me to trigger the Muses, and a copy of Daisy goes back to Richard's hand. It's then Richard's turn to start questing Daisy quests for 2, putting a T-Po in my hand. The rest of the board is going to quest for another 6, which will put Richard up to 14 lore and just 6 lore away, but they still have a ton of resources to spend. 1 for that Daisy Duck I bounce back, 3 for a Lawrence, which also quests for 2, and unsurprisingly, Richard decides to quest with the rest of their characters up to 16, and it's a Muses versus the onslaught of Amber Steel, and Richard's game plan of stacking that queen on top of his deck has worked to absolute perfection, and I failed to find the main line in this matchup, which was, of course, cutting his deck. I do get a second copy of the Muses down. This is the main line I'm looking to achieve when going second, but with how quickly Richard was able to get this whole new world through, it's just impossible for me to stop him. I sing How Far I'll Go, which is a song, and bounce back 2 characters, 1 for each Muses, and then I spend 4 ink on You're Welcome, which shuffles the queen back into Richard's deck. Interesting to see how the shuffling technique is quite different from Richard to what we saw earlier. The top card's moving quite a lot. Nothing's just like sat in place. He's not fanning all the cards open because he's in a completely winning position at this point, and there's no point of cheating when you're already winning. Frankly, I'm not sure he needed to cheat in this one anyway. It's such a bad matchup for me, and I think he's just going to be regretting it quite heavily. He did, of course, get the win in the tournament. I believe he managed to make it all the way through to the top cut, and we will be hearing shortly from the head judge of the event about the investigation that they've been doing into this matter. Richard then plays 2 more copies of Daisy. They also have a queen, and just for good measure, they play Pete, which seals the deal. But Richard here extends a preliminary handshake.
Pass.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, no.
Yeah. My bad.
You passed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got me. I'm pretty sure it's GG.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a nice game. I gotta say, I really this is the curd spices with the big aerials and stuff like that, and I've been really enjoying it for the past.
That's good.
Week. I mean, it works. I gotta say, it was a nice game. This might be the first big tournament where I managed to get into somewhat top cut.
Let's go. Not much I can
I
do.
tried building the blue and green, but it's not suited for me.
Much I can.
Yes, mate, we did see you cheat.
It's been really fun. I mean, I wanted to play against you today. That was like my goal for today. So
Let's go, man. Oh, you didn't just play me, you whacked me.
Now, it begs the question, doesn't it? If Richard cheated in Game 2, was anything dodgy going on in Game 1? And as far as I can tell, there was nothing that actually happened here, but there was definitely some dodgy behaviours and some planning, perhaps, for Richard getting ready for the Game 2. The top card is hardly moving. Now, I think on this shuffle, it actually might have, but pretty much every other time, the top card on his deck when he's shuffling is not moving. Now, it's a habit that I have at times as well, and I'm not trying to do anything nefarious, so it's just making sure to pay attention to your opponent while they're shuffling. But of course, a protection for this is cutting your opponent's deck or even giving it a shuffle before the game starts. Now, what I really want to draw your attention to is Richard's behavior. Look at that, checking out the camera, but that of course makes sense with, I think anyone would want to check out the camera, but I can see like a whole new world near the top of his deck here. The way he's fanning his deck is definitely a little bit dodgy, giving himself the opportunity perhaps to peek and make some favorable shuffles. So while I'm not sure that anything actually dodgy happened, it's definitely possible. Now, look at this. I shuffle his deck, and this is what I should be doing. Before the game starts, I give his deck a shuffle. This is actually I only just started doing pretty much coming into this tournament, and that makes me feel very good. But Richard's probably going to be paying attention to that behavior as he's checking out the camera there, perhaps lining up an opportunity to cheat down the line. Who really knows? Now, he draws his new cards for this turn. I don't think there's anything he's massively missing in this game, but again, just the way he's shuffling, the top card not moving, the cards facing towards him slightly, being fanned open and giving him an opportunity to peek. This is definitely something that I will be looking. Look at that little look down there, just seeing if there's any opportunities to give themselves an advantage. And this overhand shuffle, I think, is like a little bit of a deception. I do tap the deck in game 1 though, and it's that behavior then, that pattern, that I do again in game 2. I shuffle the deck and I tap after the mulligan, and that behavior is what Richard takes advantage of. This was someone that was very friendly, came across as very nice, and lured me into a false sense of security. They buttered me up quite a bit, telling me they watched my videos and that they were really excited to play the game. And for me, that's just a big lesson that even apparently with the extra protection that I had with 2 cameras pointing at them, that was still not enough protection. And it's really, really crucial then to just be shuffling and cutting your opponent's deck at serious competitive tournaments. I will continue to tap my opponent's deck as a sign of respect when I'm playing against viewers in low stakes games and against friends who I trust very well. But never again will I fall into this trap at a competitive level event. I spoke to Frank Carlson, who is a Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer and a Disney Lorcana Challenge champion, and he gave me some words of advice. The key lesson is simple: always shuffle or cut your opponent's deck. Just like locking your front door, it's a basic precaution everyone in the card game community should take. Not because we assume the worst of any one person, but because it's smart protection against the rare bad actors. It shouldn't be seen as an accusation or a sign of distrust towards any specific opponent. Instead, it should be a universal habit that helps keep the game fair for everyone. Look, honestly, this didn't end up mattering too much. I think I would have lost the game regardless of this. I just feel quite sorry for this person that they had an opportunity to have a game on stream and share with their friends, and they completely and utterly ruined it. Of course, for me, very disrespectful. I went all the way over to Sweden to go play at a tournament, and yeah, someone doing this it's a real shame, but here, we're going to use it as a lesson, and hopefully you people watching it can learn from my mistakes and avoid this happening to you in the future. The Disney Lorcana community is a wonderful place, and we have no room for this whatsoever.
Hello, my name is Alice. I was the head judge during Stockholm Open. Obviously, it's really sad to see people cheating. We just want to have the fun, and to see someone cheat, it's put some like, we need to show that cheating is not allowed. So what I saw during the archived video was he was stacking his deck. The one which most people point out, he pulls a small queen to the top, but he actually before that also puts another queen to the top by first finding it, cutting his deck, so he puts it in the bottom, and then do an overhand shuffle so the queens gets to the front of his deck. At the moment, we can't do anything about the results of the tournament, but obviously we sent a report to Ravensburger, and they can do more investigation and possibly suspend this player from tournaments. Yes, so obviously also pay a bit attention to what your opponent do. The most common cheating is, one of them are stacking the deck. So making sure to cut the opponent's deck or do a fast shuffle when he presents the deck will stop that from happening.
A massive thank you to Alice and all the judges at the event, who I have to say were absolutely brilliant. A thank you also to the people from our YouTube live stream that caught this and wrote it down in the comments. I didn't know about this until the day after the event. The great news is Richard, my opponent, didn't win the tournament. I still made the top cut. So all in all, it didn't have a huge bearing on the results of the event. It's definitely a little bit sad that it happened, but frankly, I'm a content creator, mate, and this is great content, I have to say. Like, how are you going to have the audacity to cheat on camera? It boggles the mind how they thought this was going to end. So thank you to the eagle-eyed Twitch and YouTube chats and for everyone supporting me. So the other thing to discuss is how should Ravensburger act on this? I'm sure if this happened at a Disney Lorcana challenge, it would result in a ban. But this was not at an official Ravensburger event, but it was at a community-run tournament, and it happened live on camera. In my opinion, this should undoubtedly result in a ban, and it should be a significant amount of time. I think the precedent needs to be set that this is not acceptable behavior and there needs to be consequences for it. If someone's not going to get banned while they are caught on camera and there's complete proof doing it, that is going to set a dangerous precedent. And in my opinion, Ravensburger need to act on this one. Not sure we'll ever hear anything about it, to be honest, but I keep my fingers crossed that we do. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. I'm doing tons of variety TCG content, including a Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge next week where I try and go from a total noob in Yu-Gi-Oh! To as close to a pro as possible in 3 days as I compete at a regional event. All sorts of cool content coming your way. Subscribe and see you soon.